In continuation of the first part of this lecture, here we will discuss the basic types of surface irrigation methods. So, as we have discussed that surface irrigation is entirely practiced where water is abundantly available. In surface irrigation, the water is flooded on the surface of the agricultural land. So, this method will be adopted. This method will be selected, this method will be recommended if the water is inexpensively available, easily available, and abundantly available, because the efficiency of the surface irrigation systems are almost from 20 to 35%. So the rest of the water, 60 to 65% of water, are lost in the conveyance system, application system, and distribution system. So if the water is not easily available, abundantly available, inexpensively available, then this method will not be selected or not recommended. The low initial cost of development is later offset by high labor cost. Now these are the limitation of the surface irrigation system. Okay, that yes, there is no initial cost, there is no developmental cost. As in any operation, we have two types of cost. One is the developmental cost or initial cost, and the second one is the operating cost. So the surface irrigation has no initial cost, but there is operative cost, there is some labor cost during the application of water. Okay, if you are applying the water in a controlled manner, then some labor will be required for the guidance or land preparation for the irrigation, for the surface irrigation. So the labor cost will be counted into the irrigation. There are deep percolation. Also the water is applied in a flooded form, so deep percolation may be occur, or runoff may be occur, and drainage problem. Okay, suppose if this is the upstream side of the field and you are applying the water in these furrows, so the water will be either highly deep percolated, or the water will be quickly run off into the downstream area. That will be depend on the types of the soil and the topography of the area. And also at the downstream in here, some drainage system will be required to safely dispose of the extra to dispose of the runoff water. Okay, mean the water which is run out from the downstream portion, they will need to safely disposed of from the agricultural area. So drainage system must be designed. So these are the limitations. The surface irrigation system has some labor cost, there is deep percolation losses, runoff losses, and there are drainage problems. The drainage system must be designed. Water is applied to the field either in the controlled or uncontrolled manner. Now the surface irrigation has majorly two methods based on the application of water. Let's suppose if the flow of water within the field is guided, if the flow is controlled, if the land is prepared for the movement of water, then we can say that the surface irrigation is a controlled irrigation. And uncontrolled irrigation is that one if the water is applied widely, that is also called the wild flooding. This uncontrolled irrigation is also called the wild flooding. In this method, water is spread or flooded on a rather smooth flat land without much control or without land preparation. So it is a wasteful use of the water, and it will be practiced in those areas where irrigation water is abundantly available and inexpensively available. And in controlled surface irrigation, the water are guided. Okay, the path of the flow of the irrigation water are guided, or they are controlled. Controlled water is applied from the head ditch and guided by corrugation, furrow borders, artages. For example, here you can see that suppose that is the main head channel, field channels, and here the water is diverted into the field. So now this water is guided. The water is guided by these two levees, by these two dikes. So this is an example of the controlled irrigation. And uncontrolled irrigation or wild flooding means if there is no such types of bonds or such types of levees are constructed, if the water flowing in a field are not guided, then it will be considered as a wild flooding. Here you can see that suppose now this one is wild flooding, uncontrolled flooding. See, if this is the main field canal, okay, so the water is introduced at the upper end of the field. Now you can see here there is no control, there is no guidance provided into the irrigation water. So here you can see that this area is under irrigated, mean and this area is over irrigated. Okay, mean the distribution of irrigation water will be non-uniform. Some area will receive more water, some area will receive less water. And also suppose if there is a path, here you can see that the water will be directly run off to the downstream area, and the upstream portion of the area will be not properly irrigated. So this is a wasteful manner of the irrigations. That is also called the flood irrigation. Water is supplied to the field widely in one time at once. In this method, water is spread or flooded on a rather smooth flat land without much control on freer land preparation. Okay, this is the wasteful use of water and is practiced largely where irrigation water is abundantly available and inexpensively available. So these are the recommendations. Okay, and if you have to control the wastages of the irrigation water, if you have to properly utilize the irrigation water, if you have to increase the distribution uniformity, then the water will be guided by some field structure. Some dikes will be constructed, some borders will be constructed, or basin will be constructed. So therefore, if the irrigation water is guided within the field, if the flow of the irrigation water is controlled, then it is called the controlled surface irrigation. And there are mainly three types of the controlled surface irrigation. One is the basin irrigation. See, if this is the main supply channel, this is the main field channel. So for each tree here you can construct a type of a basin. Okay, either it will be circular or rectangular or square. So here you can see that the water will be diverted from the main supply channel into the basin, and this basin will be properly flooded and it will be properly filled up with the irrigation water. Then the flow will be cut off from this point. So that water will be available for the infiltration into the root zone of this plant. So here you can see that the irrigation water is properly guided. The irrigation water is properly controlled in a closed structure. So there are different advantages of this method. For example, this portion, which is the unwanted portion of the here there is no crop, so this area will not be irrigated. Okay, this area will not get the irrigation water, so the water will be conserved, and also the extra or unwanted weeds will be controlled. This is also called the ring basin flooding because it is of the circular form. So this ring basin flooding is a special form of check basin flooding adopted to the orchard. Means this method will be adopted mostly for the trees, yeah, for the orchards. Because for the small size plants like for maize or wheat, we cannot construct the basin for each and individual plants. Ring basin are formed for each tree, and in some cases one basin may be formed for two or more trees. Sometimes suppose for 2 trees one basin are constructed, and the water is diverted from the main field canal into that basin. Okay, water supplied to these basins through a supply ditch. In some cases a number of ring basins are interconnected. For example, if there are another 2 trees, so these 2 basins will be interconnected to each other. So the water will be diverted from this main canal into this basin, and then the water will be also disposed up into this basin. So this is one of the controlled surface irrigation method. Second one is the furrow irrigation. So here you can see that the field is divided into these small furrows. Okay, these are furrows, or these are called the ditches, and here these are called the dikes, or these are called the bunds, or these are called the levees. So you can see that the irrigation water will be diverted from the main supply channel in between these 2 dikes, and that water will move from the upstream into the downstream area, and the crops will be grown on these levees or on these dikes. Okay, so the water will be directly the water level will be at the same position as the root zone of the crops. Okay, so the water will be easily extracted. So again, this is a type of a controlled surface irrigation. The third type is the border irrigation. The main difference between these two is In border irrigation, the land is divided in a wide border or in a wide strip. The furrow irrigation will be recommended for those crops which are sensitive to the flooded water. For example, if you plant here in the flooded portion, so then the crops are sensitive to these direct contact of water, to these direct flooded contact of water. So in this case, we are constructing these furrows. The crops are planted on these levees or on these dikes, and the water are in the channels, in the small ditches or in the small furrows. Okay, so the crops are not coming in direct contact with the flooded water, and the border is recommended for those crops which can withstand with the flooded water. For example, wheat. Okay, so the crops are grown inside these two border, and the water are introduced at the upper end from the main supply channel, and you can see this wide portion. This is the we can say that this is the flowing sheet of the irrigation water. So this water is moving in the forward direction, guided by these two border. So basin irrigation, furrow irrigation, and border irrigation, these three are the main types of the controlled surface irrigation. We will discuss one by one in detail. So the first one is the basin irrigation. So basins are horizontal flat plots of land surrounded by small dikes or ponds. So here you can see that there is an individual a ring basin around this plant. Okay, and the water will be introduced to it from the main supply channel. Here you can see that this is the main supply channel. Okay, and this is a type of a round a ring basin around this tree, and the water is introduced into this one. Now you can see that the basin is irrigated, so the water is flooded in the basin. Now this water is available for the infiltration, so the water will be properly infiltrated into the root zone of this plant. And here you can also see that the water is only applied into the plant, so the unwanted portion of the land is not irrigated. So if the unwanted portion of the land is not irrigated, so the irrigation water will be conserved, and also the unwanted plant, the weed will be controlled. Here you can see that the basin are constructed of the rectangular or square shape. So these are just the recommendation that the basin will be either of circular nature, round nature, or of the rectangular. Okay. This method of irrigation is adopted mainly in orchard, as we have discussed that for small crop, for example maize and wheat, we cannot construct the basin for individual plants. So the covering area of the orchards are more, and also the roots of the orchards are very deep as compared to the small size plant. So here we are constructing a basin, and then they will be irrigated from the main supply channel, and the water will be available for the infiltration. So if the water is available for maximum time, so then the water will be properly infiltrated into the maximum depth of the root zone. Usually round basin are made for small trees, and square basin are for large trees. Okay, these are just the recommendation that the basin will be either of round shape or a square shape or rectangular shape. These basins allow more water to be impounded, as the root zone of orchard crops are usually very deep. As we have discussed that the basin will be properly irrigated, and the water will be impounded in air, and now then that water will be available for the infiltration. So the water will be properly infiltrated into the root zone. So mostly the orchard crops, mostly the root zone of the orchard crops are very deep, so more time will be available for the infiltration. Mean infiltration opportunity time will be more, and for that purposes actually we are applying the water up to 5 to 10 centimeter of depth. Okay, so at 5 to 10 centimeter depth of water is applied into each basin, and then that water is allowed for the infiltration. So the water will be infiltrated up to the maximum depth of the root zone. Each basin is flooded, and water is allowed to infiltrate into the side. The advantage of basin method is that one, that there is no special technology is required, or there is no experienced professional are required. Just some unskilled labor will be required to make the basin around each and every tree. Okay, so that is the advantage, that no professionals are required, or no some mechanical machineries are required for the guidance or for the construction of the basins. But the main disadvantage of this method is that suppose if you construct the basin for each and every tree, then there will be difficulty for the mechanization, mean the machinery cannot be operated in the field, because the field will be the field level or the field structure or the field surface will be disturbed, because for every tree there will be a deep basin, so then the machinery will not be operable in that area. And these are the different sizes of the basin, okay, based on the we can say that based on the rate of flow of the field channel, that how much water, how much is the discharge to the basin, and what is the type of the soil. So what will be the size of the basin? So here you can see that if the flow rate into the basin is increased, then you have to construct or design a large size of the basin. So the basin size is directly related to the flow rate. Also there are different types of soil, for example sand soil or sandy loam, clay soil or clay loam. So again you can see that the size of the basins are increasing, because sandy soil size will be in the sandy soil the infiltration rate will be high. Okay, so the water will be quickly infiltrated, and in the clay loam soil the infiltration rate is low, so the water will be required, so the large amount of water will be required, because the infiltration rate is slow, so the water will be slowly infiltrated, so you have to store large amount of water so that they can be properly infiltrated up to the maximum depth of the crop. Second type of controlled surface irrigation is the furrow irrigation. So furrows are narrow ditches dug on the field between the rows of crops. Okay, here you can see that these are the rows, these are the ditches, these are the dikes on which the crops are planted. Okay, remember that the furrow irrigation are recommended for those crops which are sensitive to the flooded water, which are sensitive, which can be damaged by direct contact of the irrigation water. So the crops are planted on these levees, and the water are applied in these ditches or in these channel, so the water will be easily extracted by the roots of the plants, because they are at the same level almost, so the water can easily move into the left and right of the ditch. And also suppose if you are not constructing, if you are not designing these furrows, then when you apply the water, so the whole area will be irrigated. Yeah, the total area of the field will be exposed into the atmosphere for the evaporation losses. And if you construct these furrows, so then you can see that almost half of the area is exposed into the atmosphere, half of the surface area of the irrigation water is exposed into the atmosphere. So in furrow irrigation only you can say that half to 1/5 of the land is wetted, so that will minimize the evaporation losses. So the evaporation losses will be almost controlled by 50%. So these are the different methods through which we can conserve the water, which is a scarce resource, and the demand is increasing. So we have to go for the controlled irrigation system. So if we install the furrow irrigation or design the furrow irrigation system, then the open surface to the atmosphere of the water will be decreased by 50%, so the evaporation losses will be decreased. Furrow irrigation is adopted for row crops like corn, maize, sugarcane, cotton, banana, tobacco and cobalt. It is also good for the grains crops. Okay, here you can see that this is a main field channel, and the water is diverted into each and every furrows. Okay, so again that diversion, that discharge will be depend on the requirement. That will be depend on the types of the crops, that will be depend on the types of the soil, that will be depend on the climatic condition, topographic condition. Okay, so in this method the farm is divided into furrows, and the crops are grown on these rows. For example, tomatoes, potatoes, or maize crops. Okay, and as we have discussed that almost half of the surface is wetted. Okay, so the evaporation losses will be very much reduced, and a furrow consists of a narrow ditch between rows of the plant. See, actually this is the furrow between the two rows of the crops, this one and this one. Okay, and mostly the length of the furrow will be from 3 meter to 500 meter. Again, that will depend on the topography, the type of the crops, the type of the soil, okay, and the climatic condition. So the length will be vary from 3 meter to 500 meter, but the standard or recommended length for each furrow is from 100 to 200 meter. Okay, again, suppose for example the land is of the steep slope, so the water which you divert into the furrow, they will be quickly moved into the downstream area, so no water will be available if the upstream for the proper infiltration. Yeah, if the soil is of the highly permeable nature, then the water will be quickly infiltrated at the upstream portion, then no water will be available for the downstream area. So you have to design smaller length of the furrows. Okay, so that is the variation in the length of the furrow, that it will be from 100 to 200 meter. And also there will be a uniform slope will be provided for the furrow, so that the water may be properly moved from the upstream area into the downstream area, and that recommended slopes for the furrow are 0.2 to 5%. Again, if the slope is more, then the water will be quickly moved into the downstream area, and the upstream portion of the field will be eroded. So the steep slopes will be avoided, and that are the limitation of the furrow irrigation, that the steep slopes are avoided. Okay, the spacing between the furrows will be from 1 to 2 meter. In this method, water is applied on the field is directed to flow through narrow channel dug between the row of crops, instead of distributing the water throughout the whole field evenly. See, instead of distributing the water throughout the whole field, then the total field area will be exposed into the atmosphere for the evaporation losses. So the field is divided in these narrow channels. The crops or the plants will be planted on these furrows, on these ditches, on these levees. The water will be provided to these crops in these channels. So you can see that the surface coverage of the field is almost reduced by 50%, so the evaporation losses are reduced. The furrows must all have equal dimension. See, the height of the ditch, the width of the ditch, also the depth of the furrow, the width of the furrow, the spacing between the furrow, this will be uniform throughout the agricultural area, so that the uniform water may be discharged into each and every furrow. So if uniform water is discharged, then throughout the field the irrigation will be, we can say that, the uniform, so the uniformity of the irrigation will be maximum. Furrow irrigation is a cheap method in an area where water is inexpensive. Again, furrow irrigation is an example, or is a type of the surface irrigation. So this system will be adopted when the water is inexpensively and easily and abundantly available. Furrow irrigation is suitable for mild slope, as we have discussed that. If the slope is a steep slope, then this method will be problematic, because if the slope is steep, then the upstream area will be eroded, or the water will be quickly moved into the downstream area. The water will be quickly run up into the downstream area. So here no proper amount of water will be available for the infiltration. Length of furrow varies from 3 meter to 500 meter, but the recommended or the average furrow length will be from 100 to 200 meter. Again, that is depend on the type of the soil, the crop requirement, climatic condition, and topographic condition. See, now these are just the standard dimensions or recommended dimensions. For example, this is the depth of the one furrow, this is depth of another furrow. So in between these two furrows, this is called the spacing between the two furrows. So the spacing between two furrows will be from 1 meter to 2 meter. Or you can see that this is the top of the ridge, this is the top of another ridge. So in between these two ridges, that is the space between the that is the width of the furrow. So again, that will be the from 1 to 2 meter. Again, that will be depend on the water requirement. If more water is required, then the width will be more. and this is the depth of the furrow from the top of the ridge to the bottom of the furrow. That is called the height of ridge or depth of furrow. So that will be from 15 centimeter to 40 centimeter. Again, that will be depend on your water requirement. And what will be the slope of the furrow, so that the water may be properly moved from the upstream into the downstream area. So that is depend on the types of the soil. That for different soil, different types of slope will be recommended. Okay, so these are also standards recommendation of that one, that the bottom width of the furrow will be from 15 to 25 centimeter. And for example, that is the depth of the water flowing in the furrow. The water flowing in the furrow, suppose its depth is D, then what will be the top width of the furrow? So that will be 5 to 10 times of the D. And also some freeboard will be provided, so that the water may not overcome into another furrow, because the furrow is recommended for those crops which are sensitive to the direct contact of the water. So some freeboard will be provided, so that the water may not directly overflow through the ridges to another channel, to the another furrow. So the discharge of the water will be controlled, and that will be we can say that the uniform water will be discharged into each and every furrow. Okay, the third controlled surface irrigation method is the border irrigation. Okay, so in border irrigation, controlled surface flooding is practiced, whereby the field is divided up into strips by parallel ridges or dikes, and each strip is irrigated separately by introducing water upstream, and it progressively covers the entire strip. See, the whole field is divided into these border. Suppose this is one of the strip in the field. Okay, this one is another strip, this one is another strip. Okay, so the water, see, suppose this is the main supply channel of the field. So the water is introduced into the strip at the upper end, and this white portion, this white portion is actually the flowing irrigation water, which is called the sheet of the flow. Okay, so the water is flowing in a sheet form from the upstream into the downstream, and you can see that this sheet is guided by these border. So that's why it is a control manner. So the water is guided by these ridges or by these border. Border irrigation is suited for crops that can withstand flooding for a short time. For example, wheat, as we have discussed. But this is the main difference between the border irrigation and the furrow irrigation. See, in furrow irrigation, the crops are planted on the ridges. Okay, and the water are provided in the ditches or in the channels. So the crops are not come in direct contact with the water. And in border irrigation, for example, this is the border, a type of rectangular border. So the crops are planted here, you can see, and the water will be disposed of, the water will be introduced at the upper end, so the crops will come in direct contact with the water. So again, then there will be some design parameter that the discharge will be not too much high, or so that the crops may not be affected or the crops may not be damaged, and also the discharge will be of such nature that it did not cause the erosion problem. Okay, and the land will be also properly leveled both laterally and longitudinally, so that the erosion is reduced and the water is distributed uniformly. So for example, the wheat crop that is not sensitive in the direct contact of the flooded water. In border irrigation, water is applied slowly, as we have discussed that if the discharge is too much heavy, then the erosion will be caused at the upstream area, or the water will be damage the standing crops. Okay, the water will be damage the plants. The root zone is applied water gradually down the field. Okay, when the water is moving in the forward direction, so at the same time the water is also infiltrating into the root zone. At a time, the application flow is cut off to reduce the water losses. Now remember, in the border irrigation, this is the most important design parameter. Okay, as we have discussed that the water is a scarce resource, so if we have to properly control and manage and conserve the water, then the water will be cut off at right time so that the water losses are reduced. What is mean by the cutoff time? For example, here you can see that this is a field which is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 border. Okay, for example, this is the main supply channel. Now from this channel, suppose you have introduced some amount of discharge into this first border. Now when the water will be cut off, when the inflow of the water will be stopped into the field so that the water losses may be reduced. Now you can see that in this case there are two type of losses. If the water is not cut off at a right time, then maximum amount of water will be either deep percolated if the soil is permeable, and maximum amount of water will be run out from the field if the soil is permeable. Okay, though there are two cases. If the water is highly permeable, then the water will be lost in deep percolation. If the soil is impermeable, then the water will be lost in the runoff. Okay, so again, if you are not stopping the inflow of the water into the border, then here you will also have to design the drainage system so that the extra runoff water may be properly disposed out from the agricultural area so that it may not damage the land at the downstream. So this is the most important parameter, that when you have to stop the inflow of the water into the border. Okay, so if that is properly defined, if that is properly determined, then the losses may be reduced, the land will be conserved, the water will be conserved, and the irrigation will be uniformly applied. So ideally there is no runoff and deep percolation. If this time is properly considered, the cut-off time of the irrigation water into a border, then the runoff and deep percolation losses will be reduced. So the problem is that the time to cut off the inflow is difficult to determine. So there are two approaches. One is the rough approach, wet and trial method, and second one we have the rational equation. But before this one, first we have to discuss some important points in the border irrigations. See, for example, this is a border. Okay, that is the length of the border. That is the length. Okay, so on this border, first of all, mark different points. For example, this is the first point at the start of the border. This is the next point. Okay, suppose this is the third point, this is the fourth point, this is the fifth point. So along the border, mark different point, place different stakes for the representations, just small flags or just small stakes or just marks different points along the border. Okay, now just start the inflow of the water into the border. So you can see that when you just start the inflow of the water, so the water will be entered into the border at a time of, it's zero time period. For this point, for this stake, the time period of the water, the time period of reaching of the water is 0 minute. So plot that point here. See, the first point time period is 0 minute. Now when the water reached into this second point, then note it down the time period, that how much time it takes to reach the water from this point to this point, and plot that point, that what is the distance of this point from the starting point and what is the time taken by the water reaching into this point. So for example, the distance of this point is 15 meters from the starting point and it takes almost 9 minutes. Similarly, when the water reached into the third point, so note it down the time period, that how much is the distance of this point from the starting of the border and how much time it takes to reach the water up to here. So that is, for example, this point is at 30 meters and it takes almost, suppose, 18 minutes to reach the water. Similarly for next one, that note it down the time period, that when the water is reaching into these points. So plot these time period along the points which you have marked. So this is called the advance curve, and the time which in the time which takes water to reach these points, this time period is called the advance time. Now when the water reached into the downstream portion of the field, then stop the inflow into the border. Okay, mean cut off the flow. So when you cut off the flow, the water will gradually start disappearance from the land surface. So first the water will disappear at the upstream area, then the water will be gradually disappear from the downstream area. So when the water disappear from this portion, so note down the time period. See the time from the start of the inflow of the water up to the disappearance of the water from the surface. So see at the start of the border, at the first point at the start of the border, for example, after 50 minutes the water are disappeared from the surface. So the first point was at 0 distance, and the water disappear up to after 50 minutes. Now at second point which you have marked, when the water disappear from this point, so plot its time period. For example, the water disappear after 59 minutes. Similarly, from the second point, from the third point, and from the fourth point, when the water disappear from the surface, so that is called the recession curve. And the time from the inflow of the water up to the disappearance at a specific point, that is called the recession time. Okay, so you will have two curves. One is the advance curve, second one is the recession curve. Now the time difference between these 2 points, the time difference between these two curves, yeah, the recession time minus advance time, that is called the time of ponding. Mean the water will be available for this much time for the infiltration, or this is also called the infiltration opportunity time. Infiltration opportunity time. See, at this starting point, when you have just introduced the water, so the time period was 0, and when the water disappear from this point, that takes 50 minutes. So we can say that the water was available for 50 minutes to infiltrate. So the infiltration opportunity time was 50 minutes. So these two terminologies are used in the we can say that in the border irrigation. Okay, now let's come towards the time period of the cutoff, that when you have to stop the flow into the border so that the deep percolation losses and runoff losses may be reduced. So see, for example, this is the length of the border. Okay, so when you introduce the water into the border, so it will flow in this manner. See, that is called the sheet of the irrigation water, the sheet of the flowing water. That is also called the advance front, when the water is moving in the forward direction. So when the water reached up to 70 to 80% of the length of the border, then stop the flow into the border. Okay, for example, if the length of the border is 100 meter, so when the water reached up to 70 meter of the border, then stop the further inflow of the water into the border. So then the runoff and deep percolation losses will be reduced. So this is one of the rough method, or this is one of the hit and trial method. Also, the size of the irrigation stream applied to unit area of land is varying according to the rate of infiltration of water into the soil. Mean how much water are introduced into this border, what will be the rate of this discharge, what will be the rate of water applied into the border. So that is different on the infiltration rate of the soil. If the infiltration rate is high, so high discharge will be applied so that the proper water may be moved into the downstream area. Okay, so when a large stream is applied to a unit area of the soil of low infiltration, for example, if the soil is of low infiltration and you apply the excessive discharge, so what will happen? High runoff will be occurred. However, when a small stream is applied, if a small stream is applied to a unit area of high infiltration rate, then what will happen? Deep percolation will be occur. So we have to manage, we have to discharge the water, or we have to control the rate of flow according to the infiltration rate of the soil. So the relation between size of stream, time, rate of water application over a given area of land can be most easily stated by means of a rational equation. That see, the discharge rate and the time of application is depend on the rate of infiltration. So for example, we have a border of area A, okay, in the length of the border multiplied by width of the border, so you will get the area of the border. For example, area of the border is A, yeah, area of the strip is A, okay, and I is the infiltration rate in, for example, in meter per hour, okay, and Q is the discharge to the border, that is discharge to the strip, for example, that is in cubic meter per second or hectare meter per hour, okay, and for example, Y is the depth of the flowing water, okay, mean the water which is flowing in a sheet form within the borders in this strip. So the depth of that flowing water, for example, that is Y, mean the average depth of sheet of flowing water, for example, that is in meter. Now when this inflow will be stopped, what will be the time of cutoff, so that the deep percolation losses is reduced and the runoff is reduced and the area is properly irrigated. So we have a rational equation here. You can see the time of cutoff will be equal to 2.303 y divided by I log of 10 q divided by q minus I a. A is the area, I is infiltration rate, q is the inflow discharge, y is the average depth of the sheet of flowing water, and I is the infiltration rate. So this time, after this time, you have to stop the flow. When you just start this much, when you just start the inflow of this discharge, then for example this much, after this much time you have to cut off the flow. So the deep percolation and runoff losses will be reduced. And also another parameter is used in the design of parameter in the design of border, that how much length of the border will be selected so that the deep percolation losses and runoff losses may reduce and the area may be properly irrigated. So for example, that is the width of the border, okay, mean the standard width of the border, the recommended width of the border, that will be from 10 to 20 meter. So let the width of the border is B, and for the border, for example, the total discharge is Q, where the inflow discharge is Q, then we can say that the total discharge divided by the total width of the border, that is called the unit discharge, okay, mean how much water is introduced to a 1 meter width of the border, mean cubic meter per second per meter, that is a unit discharge, okay. And again, in one irrigation, how much water you are applying, okay, mean see D, that is the depth of the irrigation water, mean how much water you have to apply in one irrigation. And when you start the inflow of water, so what is the depth of the flowing water, that is Y, okay, make sure the difference between D and Y. D is the depth of the irrigation water which is needed to be applied in one irrigation, and Y is the depth of the flowing water, Y is the depth of the sheet of flowing water, and we can say that suppose I is the infiltration rate of the soil. So for unit discharge, for this much discharge, how much length will be designed, okay, yeah, this unit discharge will be properly applied to how much length of the border, okay. So that is the design of the length of the border, that is equal to Q divided by I into 1 minus e to the power minus d divided by y. Y is the average depth of sheet of flowing water, d is the depth of irrigation which we have to apply in one irrigation, Q is the unit discharge per unit wet, and I is the infiltration rate. So this unit discharge will be sweatable, this unit discharge will be efficient for this much length. Okay, so that is the design parameter. Okay, so in this method, parallel ridges are made to guide a sheet of flowing water when the water moves down the slope. So here you can see that a parallel ridge is one ridge, another ridge, another ridge. So the area will be divided into a number of strips, and we can say that a number of borders. So in this method, the form is divided into a series of strips of 10 to 20 meter, meaning the average standard recommended width for the border is 10 to 20 meter. Again, this width will be depend on the types of soil, the type of crop, the topography. Okay, and the length of the border will be from 100 to 300 meter. These are just the recommendations, the length of the border. Okay, and these strips are separated by low levees, or these strips are separated by these borders, or these dikes, or these borders. Okay, now to irrigate water is turned from the supply ditch into the head of the water. See, means suppose this is a supply ditch, supply channel, so the water will be introduced at this one point, and the water will be moving in the forward direction in the form of a thin sheet, which is called the advanced sheet, which is called the flowing sheet. Okay, so the water will be moving in the forward direction from the upstream into the downstream. Okay, and as we have discussed that the length of the border will be from 100 to 300 meter, and that is depend on the infiltration rate of the soil, longitudinal slope of the land, size of irrigation stream available, mean how much discharge you have to you can introduce, in how much water is available for the individual border, what is the infiltration rate of the soil, okay, and what is the longitudinal slope of the border. So based on this one, you have to select the length of the border. The field is divided into several long parallel strips called borders. Okay, field should be even surface. Now remember, this is the important point, that the slope of the border will be uniform, so that the water may properly move from upstream into the downstream. The slope both longitudinally, laterally and longitudinally, both the slopes will be uniform, so that the water may be uniformly distributed. Evenly strip is independently irrigated by turning a stream of water at the upper end. Okay, means the stream of water, some discharge will be introduced at the upper end of the border, and then the water will move from the upstream into the downstream. Okay. Water spreads and flows down to the strips. Water moves towards the lower end without erosion, covering the entire width of the border. See, as we have discussed, a proper discharge is selected, or the unit width, proper time of cutoff is selected, or proper length of the border is selected, then the erosion will be avoided. So here a land preparation will be required. First you have to level the land uniformly, mean uniform slope must be provided, the width will be uniform properly, and the length will be according to the standard dimension, so that the water may be properly distributed throughout the border without runoff and without deep percolation. Border method is suitable for most of the soil, while it is best suited for soil having moderately low to high infiltration rates. Okay. However, it is not suitable for coarse sandy and clay texture soil, because for coarse sandy soil the infiltration rate will be high, so the water will be quickly infiltrated at the upstream area. And if the soil is of the clay nature, so its infiltration rate will be less, so the water will be either run up to the downstream area, or the water will be available for longer time, so the crops will be affected. There are two types of the border. One is the straight border, second one is the contour border. So for almost level area, level agricultural land, these straight borders may be constructed along the direction of the slope. And in the hilly area, here you can see that in hilly area, these fields are formed, these terraces are constructed, these borders are constructed across the slope. Okay, in almost mild slope or low slope area, less slope area, The border will be constructed along the slope, which is called the straight border irrigation method. And in steep slopes area, the border will be constructed across the slope, which is called the contour border. So here you can see that these are also the small borders constructed in agricultural land. Here you can see, so these are along the contour of the area, and these are across the slope because the slope is in this direction. Pre-flooding and ordinary flooding, as we have already discussed that in this type of irrigation, ditches are excavated in field either on contour or up and down is free flooding. And water application on field without levees means, suppose if there is no levees, there is no border, there is no furrow, there is no basin, then the irrigation will be considered as a wild flooding. And if there is levees, there is control, there is guidance provided into the irrigation water, then this irrigation will be called as a controlled flooding. Okay, check flooding is also an example of basin floodings in which levees are constructed in square form or rectangular form. So okay, and zigzag irrigation method, this is also one of the controlled surface irrigation method in those area where the slope is very less, very mild slopes over there. Okay, so the water will not be moved in the forward direction if there is, we can say, almost zero slope. So if there is no slope, then the water cannot be moving from the upstream area into the downstream area directly. So then what we can do, then we are dividing the field across the slope in small rectangular form. Here you can see, okay, and the water is introduced at the upstream area. Now the flow of the water will be guided by that levees or that ridges in such a manner, in a circuit form. You can see that the water is moving. So this is called the zigzag irrigation method. So it is a special method of flooding where water takes circuitous route before reaching the downstream of the plot. Okay, the whole area is divided into a number of square or rectangular plot, and each plot is then subdivided with the help of low bunds or levees. Here you can see. Also, one of the contour border irrigation is also called the contour farming. When the slopes are very steep, so then the land is divided in different terraces, or the land is divided in different border across the slope, which is called the contour farming. Okay. So this is the surface irrigation in which the water is widely or controlledly spreaded on the surface of agricultural land in the flooded form. Okay, see, this is a form of controlled surface irrigation, furrow irrigation. From the main field supply channel, the water is introduced into each and every furrow with the help of these siphons. Okay, so the discharges depend on the requirement, the length of the furrow, the crop requirement, types of the soil, so that the water may be applied uniformly. Okay, here you can see that the water is introduced into this furrow. See, the water is introduced into this furrow. Now the flow of this water will be guided by these ridges. See, these ridges are these levees. The flow of water is guided, and the water is moving. The water front is moving. The water is advancing in the forward direction to the downstream of the area. And here you can see that the crops are planted on the levees. The crops are planted on the ridges. See, so this method is recommended for the crops which are affected or damaged by occurring in direct contact with the irrigation water. Okay, so controlled amount of the discharge will be introduced into the furrow, and then the water will be moved along the direction of the slope to the downstream area. And here you can see that the water level is in accordance in the same elevation to the root zone of the crop, so the water may be properly extracted by the plants, properly utilized by the plants. So the wastages are reduced, the losses are reduced in the controlled manner, and the water are properly applied. So in this part of the tutorial, we have covered the different types of the surface irrigation method, the furrow, basin, and border. Thank you.